When you were in high school, you probably weren't dreaming about a career in the septic industry, but this not so sexy niche is generating tons of money for business owners like the one we're going to speak with today. Jeremy Philbeck, founder of Jeremy's Septic Service, is going to tell us all about the opportunities in this profitable industry.
Over 700 of those are restaurants, grease traps.
Oh, wow.
Every 3 months, I do work for KFC down here. I do 17 locations.
Okay.
Every 3 months, I pump all of them. So hopefully you take those 4 years of working for somebody, teaching you how to do it, take your test, get your license. Hopefully by that point you saved your money for a down payment on a truck like that. Sure. 14 was when I went on my first pump out with my dad.
Okay.
Back then, 26 years ago, the rate for a pump out was $129.
Wow.
So the inflation, about 25 years, has gone from 129 to almost 400. Overtime in the septic industry is phenomenal.
Okay.
Nighttime rates, weekend rates, holidays, Christmas, I can get $1,000 a pop. I dropped out in 10th grade.
Sure.
So that was it for me. So I knew I was going to work, but from that moment on, I've always worked for a septic company.
For a lot of our younger viewers that are thinking about getting involved in a business like this, what would you say to them to convince them that this is a good way to make a living? So Jeremy, you've got a ton of solid Google reviews for your business. What makes your business better than another septic service business?
We care, So if you're having a problem, things like that, we try to accommodate emergencies, people with like sewage backing up, things like that. So,
sure.
I think that's what sets us apart. I've been doing this for 25 plus years, so a lot of my customers I've had for a long time. So when I finally decided to open my own company 6 years ago, it wasn't a hard transition as far as staying busy, just because I already had, same phone number I had for 25 years. People
Sure.
would call me on. I left, started my own company, and just was able to bring all those along with me. So I think it's the service, response, we're affordable. We don't crack you over the head.
So can you tell us about what type of services that you offer?
So we're a full service septic company. So
Okay.
we do everything from pumping septic tanks and grease traps and lift stations to doing installs of new tanks, drain fields, septic systems, do high pressure water jetting for bigger municipalities that are on sewer and they have laterals in the ground. We do that kind of stuff. Custom lids, risers, new lids, all styles. We do Vector services, removing sand from tanks and stuff that, can't go into a liquid truck.
Okay.
So we do a little bit of everything. If you call us, if we can't do it, I'll at least get you, in the right direction, find somebody who can help you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty upfront with things like that.
Nice. Is one of those services more common? Like you find yourself doing a specific type of service more often than others?
Yeah, my most steady is pumping.
Okay.
So I start every year with about 1,000 jobs already scheduled through 12 months.
Wow, okay.
Between all my grease trap maintenance and people who do their yearly or biannual maintenance. So I stay mostly busy with that. I do a lot of repairs. I'm one of the only guys in the industry that'll repair a drain field as opposed to replacing it. Not everybody's got 10 grand to be able to replace a drain field. So some people it's more affordable to be, $2,000 is a lot easier to handle. So I always give somebody the option whether they want to replace or repair. I give them a fair assessment. If it can't be fixed, I'll just cover it up and send you an estimate for a new one, no charge. But I try to fix everything before I try to guide you towards a replacement, because it's a big job and it's a lot of money.
Definitely. So kind of along that line of the services that you offer, is there something that's more profitable for your specific business? What drives the most amount of profitability for you?
The highest amount of profit I get is from my repair crew.
Okay.
Fixing drain fields, putting lids, risers, jetting, anything like that. My repair crew, the profit margin on them is double what it is on installs.
Wow, okay.
Just because I don't have to pay for permit fees, sand, all this crazy material. I'm able to go in there, use my equipment, unclog it, rebuild it back together, tell them, hey, you're good for a year. We go back in a year, pump it out, check it. If it's all good, it's almost every 2 to 5 years.
Nice.
So I'm pretty upfront. You pay for a repair, it fails within a year and it doesn't work, I take that repair money and I put it right towards a contract on a new drain field. So it's not like I'm gonna get 10 grand and then I already took the 2.
Right.
You know, I don't operate like that.
Yeah,
you know?
nice. I mean, so you mentioned you have like 1,000 jobs scheduled right at the start of the year. What role does that kind of like steady revenue play in your business? Like, does that help like provide kind of like some security through the ups and downs of everything?
If I didn't get any new customers for pumping, you know, maintenance, things like that, I could survive with just what I have, you know, guaranteed.
Okay.
So, you know, I do over 700 of those are restaurants, grease traps.
Oh, wow.
Every 3 months, you know, I do work for KFC down here. I do 17 locations.
Okay.
Every 3 months, I pump all of them. So that's
Wow.
every 3 months. So it's, you know, 4 times a year, what my rate is times 16, and that's just them.
Sure.
That's not counting all the little mom and pop joints I got, the people who just want to pump them out yearly, anything like that. So it does provide security, you know, because if something were to happen, business were to get slow, recession hits, whatever, those grease traps are regulated by municipalities.
Sure.
They have to.
Yeah.
So as long as we have a good relationship, I'm fair. Obviously, I give them a better price,
Yeah.
you know, because they're giving me 17 stores quarterly.
Sure.
You know, so that does help. You know, obviously, new business, I take all I can handle. You know, you can only do what you can do. So I don't like to tell people, oh, I'll get there and then not show up and then they didn't call anybody. Then they're in a worse spot. So I try to take everything I can, and I'll tell you, if I can't get there, I'll be like, I just can't make it happen.
Sure.
But I usually can get to everybody, especially if you're in Waxahachie.
Nice. Well, you said you've been doing this business for 25 years, you know, 6 years on your own. When you think back through that time period, can you tell us about like the craziest job that you ever had, or the craziest experience you ever had on a job site?
All right, so I can go a few different ways. So
All right.
I'd say like 20 years ago, I was working for another company, and we pumped the tank out and we couldn't get paid.
Okay.
They wouldn't pay. We wrapped up all the equipment, put it on the truck. We're like, hey, we're out of here.
Sure.
You know, pay. No, I'm not paying you. So we put the hoses back off the truck, put it in there. We're gonna pump it back in. Well, she's like standing on the lid, like dodging. Won't let me get near.
Right.
We ended up having to call the cops.
Oh, geez.
The cops show up. They're yelling at this lady like, hey man, you got to pay this dude. As soon as a shovel hits the ground on your property, you're binded to at least a service call.
Right.
So I'm gonna come pump out your tank. You're not gonna pay. Then, because obviously we're not gonna get into a fight or anything like that. So the cops came, told her to pay. She ended up paying. It ended up being good. That's like the wildest thing that's happened.
Okay.
But we had a job maybe 2 years ago, and this tank was never pumped.
Okay.
It had to be like 60 years.
Oh, wow.
Old slab tank, so it's not even easy to get into.
Sure.
There was no water in the tank, so when there's no water in the tank, it's very difficult to pump it out.
Okay.
You know, it's based off of water and getting air through the hose. When it's just pumping like straight sludge,
Sure.
it just won't come through. So we ended up spending like 2.5 hours on a job that normally takes about 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
So that same call, you know, our rate right now is $385 for a standard tank pump out. That one right there cost her over $1,500 because of the time spent.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, oh, I saved money, I ain't pumping my tank. No, you're not. Because when you call me at the end, all that money you were going to pay in maintenance pump outs, you're going to pay me today.
Yeah.
Pay me then, pay me now, or pay me tomorrow. Either way, a septic system has to be maintained.
Yeah.
So if the longer you let it just ride, it's like not changing the oil in your truck. You're going to get sludge in the engine. If you don't pump your tank, you're going to get sludge in the drain field.
Sure.
And that's how they fail.
Interesting. You mentioned a little bit about some of those businesses and how they're regulated and when the pumping needs to happen for them. But for a septic services business, what kind of license or regulations or certifications do you have to get to run a business like this?
Okay, so you have to be a licensed septic tank contractor.
Okay.
Or have a qualifier who is a licensed septic tank contractor.
Okay.
So that's where we get our license. We're governed by the Department of Health.
Okay.
The state of Florida. So my license is good anywhere in the state of Florida. I can
Okay.
work as far north as Pensacola, as far south as Key West if I wanted to.
Okay.
My license is good wherever I go. As far as the dumping of the trucks, I'm only registered in this county, Palm Beach, Broward County, and that's it. So
Okay.
if I do a job far away, I'm not registered there to dump, I'm bringing it back.
Sure.
So you're paying, that's why I always tell people, you're gonna pay more to get me down there. I have customers who moved from this area down to Broward. They have a septic, and they don't care what it costs. They want me to go do it because, you know, we have that relationship, and that's what it is. It's a lot of personal relationships that I've had over the past 25 years doing this job, meeting other people that do trades that help me out, like our boy Josh from Trash Help. He was able to give me dumpsters. Anytime I got old tanks, got to come out to a job site, I can call him, he'll drop it off, and I'll load it. Or he'll come out and he'll load it, he'll take it away. So I've met people like him that made me be able to mark up his costs. I don't have to hire another employee. I don't have to hire a truck. I don't have to get my own dumpster. I have him come in whenever I need him. I mark him up. I forward it to the customer. Everybody's happy, you know. So that's a big part of it.
Interesting. You know? And is the certification or licensing process, is it something you just apply for, or do you have to have experience already doing that in order to, you know, get the certification to do it?
So you have to have a certain amount of either credits as far as going to school and studying like soil books and things like that for installs, or you have to have 4 years continuous service in the industry to be able to just take the test. So obviously that's the route I went. You know, I've been doing it 20 some odd years, took the test, got it. Good. My father is also a septic tank contractor. My mother is also a septic tank contractor. It's a family business. I grew up working for my family back in the day. I worked through there. Parents split, 2 different companies. Went with my dad. He ended up selling that company. I was like, that's it. I'm going to do my own thing. All this back and forth isn't good. You know, people want the same person. So thankfully, last 6 years, you know, all the guys I got, my wife working in the office, it's been awesome. You know, we're thankful for it.
Well, that's really interesting because I was going to ask how you got started in this industry, but you started from your early age, being
14.
Kind of born into it.
14 was when I went on my first pump out with my dad. You know, back then, 26 years ago, the rate for a pump out was $129.
Wow.
So the inflation, about 25 years, has gone from $129 to almost $400. You know, cost of living, homes, fuel, everything like that. Thankfully, fuels came down a little bit. In this industry, dump fees go up annually. It's an increase every October, no matter what. Recession, everybody's doing good. A lot of people are dumping, little bit of people are dumping. It goes up. They tell you it's going up 0.3% every October. Just be aware. So like people every year are like, hey man, every year you increase your price. I can. Or how about I jack it way up and you're good for 5 years. You know, I already know what it's. I'm only going up as they go up. They go up $10. I'm gonna go up $10. You know. So this truck right here will hold 4,000 gallons. So that's 4 jobs in the truck at a rate of 385 per 1,000 gallons. You know, you're right about 1,500 for the load. Okay, so now once that load is all paid for, you got to go to the dump and dump it. You're $350. So you take 1 job right off of that load. Okay, then you got the driver pretty much for the day and a half, another 385. You got tires for the truck. You got fuel to run the truck. You got space to park the truck. You got materials to buy. All that kind of. So that people are like, man, you're killing it. No, let me show you. You know, obviously we have to make money to provide for our families. You know, I have 7 employees, so they all got to be taken care of. You know, that all lies on, you know, right here. So if they go up, I go. I'm not increasing my profit. I'm right with the market. You call anybody around here, you're gonna get your price range. I'm gonna be right dab in the middle. But if you call me, I'll get it done. That's the difference.
Well, it's interesting. So you had a ton of experience like coming into this. Obviously not when you were 14. But over time. When you think 6 years ago when you decided to go out on your own, what were some mistakes that you made or things that you didn't anticipate as far as like running your own business, you know, that if you went back you could do over again better?
I would say the one thing I would do different is about a year after I got started, I needed help. But I wouldn't. I want to do everything on my own. Just me. I'm going to get to everybody, and that ended up hurting me. You know, not getting help means I couldn't get to everybody. I can only do so much. I was hesitant to buy the next truck, which was this one from that one. I was hesitant. Like I got this. I know that payment cost me $1,000 a month just for the payment. I got my dump fees. I got my helper. I got all this. I'm gonna buy this truck. That's another $3,000 a month. $385 to $3,000 is a lot of pump outs in 1 month just to pay the payment without paying the dump bill and things like that. But I figured out in this end, it's volume.
Okay.
It's the most jobs you can do in a single day.
Sure.
The most 385s you can get, and that's just a standard tank. You got bigger ones that are more money. Cleaning filters at $100 to each job. So if you do 8 jobs a day, they all got a filter. That's an extra $800 by digging another hole.
Yeah.
Grabbing a filter, pulling it out, spraying it, it's easy work. So that's where add-on sales.
Okay, interesting.
Add-on sales.
Yeah.
You don't sell them something they don't need, but if they need something that's going to make it easier to service, prolong the life,
sure,
then sell it.
Yeah, definitely.
Sell it, because if it ain't right, I'll come back and I'll make it right. I'll take it off, put it back how it was. Anything you don't like it how it looks aesthetically in your yard. A lot of people want the lush green grass. I don't want to see no lids.
Sure.
You know, my house, I don't care. Got them big stones, you know, it doesn't matter to me. A lot of people want them buried, so then you got to cut the grass out. Be careful with their lawn. So there's a lot that goes into, you know, satisfying the customer.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I would say. The one regret I have is I didn't expand sooner.
Okay.
And then I would say I still didn't learn my lesson because I didn't go from 2 to 3 trucks as soon as I should have.
Interesting.
You know, the more you do, the more you make, but the more you spend with the drivers, insurance, you know, things like that.
Was it more of a question of finding employees that you could rely on, or was it hesitancy to take on more debt to build a business?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I don't hire anybody that I don't kind of know.
Okay.
Okay. So my first employee was one of my old coworkers' cousins.
Sure.
He worked with me, and then my installer, when I finally got to the point of installing, which was after about 2 years, the guy that worked with me the last 25 years, who followed me everywhere I went, came.
Okay.
And then one of his friends came, so we kind of knew like that. And then my brother works for me. My wife is in the office, so it's like, it's tight knit. It's like me, my brother, my wife, the kids,
sure,
and the guys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they make the difference. You know, I'm thankful to have like 6 of the hardest working dudes. You know, you're out here in 100-degree weather, you know, digging up septic tanks, playing in people's, you know, bathroom stuff, right?
Right.
For a decent wage.
Yep.
But, you know, it's not the most glamorous job.
Sure.
And dudes don't say nothing. You know, they come in, they go to work, they get it done, they call me when something's not right, they go home, get their check on Friday. They're lucky enough to be repair guys and not have to work weekends.
Sure.
That's me and my brother.
Okay.
So they get weekends off, but Monday to Friday, I know 8 to 5, them dudes they're getting it done. And that's why people call me, because I mean, these guys work.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's awesome, because it's so hard to find reliable employees, you know, to work all the time.
Yep.
And of all the businesses we talk to, that's something that they echo, which is it's all about finding the right employees to help you grow your business.
Yep.
The one thing we've noticed all successful businesses have in common is their ability to efficiently manage customers and invoices. This includes everything from sending bids and email blasts to automating invoices and payments. Project 2 Payment isn't just the sponsor for this video, but we personally recommend them for payment and customer management. The best part is they're only $20 a month, and you can get 3 months for free by using the link in the description below. When you first started out, what did you struggle with sending bids or managing projects and things like that in the early days? Or was that a skill that you had developed over time through being in the industry for so long?
So I kind of had an idea, you know, because my mom and dad both own companies, so I kind of knew like how to send the bid.
Sure.
What I wasn't real good at in the beginning was like every year things get more expensive. So I was going 1.5 years, 2 years, I mean, like, damn, I paid how much for material?
Right.
Man, how long have I been doing this?
Right.
Hold on, let me back up, you know, and thankfully the people who own these companies in this area, you know, my mom owns a competitive company with mine.
Sure.
Down south, she's more in like the Lake Worth area.
Okay.
And I got a buddy out here who owns a septic company, Joey, and then one of my best friends, Roy, owns Southern Septic.
Okay.
So I was thankful enough when I was coming up that Roy helped me out, taught me what I needed to do, called me and said, hey, I just got your bid that you sent to so-and-so. What are you doing?
Okay.
You're gonna mess the industry up. So, okay, I'm gonna take a step back.
Right.
I'm gonna do a little research, and I'm gonna make sure I'm not going out there to not make any money.
Sure.
So he helped me in that direction. So I've always kind of had something to fall back on.
Okay.
But if I didn't have that safety net of, you know, somebody being like, hey man, up, you know, up, you know, like you're 1,500 cheaper than everybody else.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is taking the jobs away from everybody else and shortchanging yourself.
Sure.
So thankfully I was able to kind of get a grasp of that. Now I do it every 6 months. I review the numbers, make sure it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, because when you run a business, you got to make something. You got to make sure the money is coming in. You got to make sure you're green. You know, you're not going to win every day.
Yeah.
Some days you're going to lose, but some days you're going to win, and it evens out.
Yeah.
You know, I live comfortably. My guys do. Everybody's happy. I don't need to be any bigger, any smaller.
Sure.
But I'll be as big as how busy I get, pretty
Yeah.
much. So 6 years in, 0 trucks to 4 trucks with a repair crew, a full install crew. My dad helps out doing plumbing and stuff, so we'll do like little plumbing, water jetting and things like that. So we do a little bit of everything, but thankfully I've grown up with good people around me in the industry that have kind of helped me not lose, because he always says, like, whether you get it or I get it or your mom gets it or whoever gets it, as long as one of us get it, we're good, you know, because you know, they'll help us out. I get too busy, I'll call him up, hey man, do me a favor, send me a truck, go. And that's just, the customer doesn't care because they just got the job done.
Yeah.
So they're like, I don't care how you get it done, just get it done. Even if I don't make any money, even if I'm just the middleman taking money from A and giving it to B, I'm fine, because A is going to call me back in 2 years, because they're not going to remember who I sent. They're just going to remember I got it done. That's it. Hey, he got it done. I called him at the last minute and he showed up.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what a lot of the people want, is show up, be fair, make your money and go home.
Yeah.
That's it.
Interesting. Well, you had talked a little bit about getting your first truck back here.
Yep.
Was that a big leap to take when you decided, you're like, man, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get that truck? How did you make that decision, and how did you manage to pay for the, you know, your first piece of equipment that you needed?
Yeah, so when I first started, I started without a truck.
Okay.
So you would call me, I'd go out and fix your problem. If it needed pumped, I'd call A, B, or C, come pump it out. I'm gonna fix it. You pump it, I'll figure that into my price. I'm gonna do the repairs, make a little bit. They don't care, they get it fixed. So I was like, man, I'm losing a lot of money because somebody else is coming and getting paid for the pump out.
Yeah.
You know, so what I did is I looked for an investor.
Okay.
Okay, so that truck cost me $83,000, and it's a refurbished truck from down in Miami.
Okay.
It was a great truck.
Sure.
So that was costing me $1,500 with insurance monthly and things like that. So the loan I got a loan for $100,000.
Okay.
Okay, so the $100,000 loan was a 5-year loan, paying off X amount of dollars per month until it's paid off. Obviously, the guy's making a little bit of a return on that money, but I was able to go down there and buy that truck cash.
Oh, nice.
I was able to buy all my office equipment, computers, printers, all that stuff, internet programs for my wife in the office to be able to run it. So I took a $100,000 loan. I paid that off in 3 years.
Okay.
Fully paid off. And that's what started everything. I don't know if I didn't have the investor, how I would have done it.
Sure.
But it would have got done somehow, but that's how I was able to do that. I was like, instead of me taking a personal loan, I'm just gonna have a buddy, got some money, help me out, good to go. He got his money back, and you know, now he gets pump outs for life for free.
Very nice. Well, you alluded to this a little bit earlier, that the septic service business might not be the sexiest industry to be in. And for like a lot of our younger viewers that are thinking about getting involved in a business like this, what would you say to them to convince them that this is a good way to make a living?
All right. You know, you have a recession or anything, you know what you still have to do every day? Just go to the bathroom. Right? If you got a septic tank and your bathrooms ain't flushing, regardless of how much money you got, you're gonna get somebody out there to pump it out.
Sure.
So as long as you're in an area that has septic, that is not dominated by a huge conglomerate, you can make money.
Okay.
You spend 4 or 5 years and work for somebody, get in the passenger seat of that truck every day for 4 years. You're gonna see more than a book is gonna tell you.
Okay.
The test is easy once you've done it.
Sure.
I always tell people, work. You're in the book, it don't make sense. You know, my wife in the office, she's reading the book, she's like, I said, you gotta see it, because you put eyes on it, you learn by seeing. You can make, this isn't an overly tough job other than the digging and the extreme heat of South Florida.
Sure.
That is the worst part. You know, 99-degree day, you're out in the middle of somebody's yard, no crosswind, Tanks 3 foot deep, digging rock. I mean, it's brutal,
Yeah.
but some jobs are like that. You take the good with the bad. Wait 4 years, take your test, get certified. Hopefully in that 4 years, you've saved your money for overtime, because overtime in the septic industry is phenomenal.
Okay.
Nighttime rates, weekend rates, holidays, Christmas, I can get $1,000 a pop. Phone rings on Christmas, I need a pump out, $1,000, I'm paying cash. I'm in the truck, I'm going down the road.
Right.
So you can make money, save it.
Yeah.
So hopefully you take those 4 years of working for somebody, teaching you how to do it, take your test, get your license. Hopefully by that point you saved your money for a down payment on a truck like that.
Sure.
You know, get yourself a corporation name, something funny. You know, there's all kinds of crazy septic names you can come up with, or
Right.
as simple as mine, Jeremy Septic Service.
Yeah.
You know, everybody, I was company to company before I started my own. They're like, I don't know which one he works for, but his name's Jeremy.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I'm going with that. So learn, take your test, save your money, buy your truck. Once you have your truck, you're going to do one job, and then that guy's going to tell somebody else. And then the next day you're going to do a couple jobs, and those two people are going to tell somebody else.
Sure.
Half my work, word of mouth, no advertising. Hey, did you find me on Google? Nope. Bob Smith down the road told me to call you. That's
Right,
the best
right.
thing. Somebody else used somebody who was happy with me. They don't know me from the next guy.
Yeah.
But you know what? You took care of him down the road. You got to be good.
Yeah.
Oh, you live in Loxahatchee too? Oh, I'm out of Loxahatchee. Come on.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the best part. You know, this area loves locals.
Yeah.
So if you're a local company, you're going to be the one as long as you do good work.
That's awesome. And it's actually, I was going to ask you about that, about where your new leads come from. Like, do you do any marketing, or is all of your business word of mouth? No.
I do Google.
Okay.
I just feel more comfortable, like I'm out there then, you know?
Yeah.
For somebody who may have never heard of me, you're down in Boca, you're tired of all the companies down there, you know, they size you up when they get to your house. This guy's got good reviews, but he's, you know, way out here in Loxahatchee. I would have never got that without a Google.
Yeah.
So even if I don't get all my return, when you Google septic tank company, Loxahatchee, or anywhere in Palm Beach County, my name is one of the first ones up there.
Sure.
So even if you don't call me, you've seen that. It's in your brain.
Yeah.
That next guy doesn't answer the next time. Then you use me and you're like, damn.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call him every time. So Google is what I do. Facebook, you know, swap pages, things like that. That's cool. Sponsor the high school flag football team.
Sure.
Things like that. I'd sponsor a race car in Hendry County. You know, little things just to kind of get my name out there,
Yeah.
but word of mouth and repeat.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even need to advertise, but it's good to be out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Stand on your own reputation, but put your name out there nonetheless.
Absolutely. You know, people see you, you know, even if they don't know. My logo's got my beard, you know, kind of, you got your beard too. So people are like, oh, it's the big dude with the beard and the hat.
Right.
Okay, that's Jeremy, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like that's what I post everywhere. And they'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, that's Jeremy. They don't
Yeah.
even have to see the Jeremy Septic Service. They see the logo, because I had a local lady out here in Loxahatchee. I did a pump out for her.
Yeah.
Just started my company, and she made that logo for me. She's like, it's perfect. And
That's
I've used it
awesome.
ever since. I didn't pay a dollar.
That's cool. Well, you mentioned that, I think you said you have 4 trucks now.
Yep.
You started with 1. What does the future look like for your business? Are you looking to expand? Are you looking to grow? You know, what do the next 5 years look like?
Yeah, so hopefully the next 5 years look like another new truck, man. You know? Yeah, I like them. They're shiny. They make money.
Sure.
You know, the payments are expensive. Wife probably wouldn't like it if she heard I was going to try to buy another one, but that's what I would like to do next year. Next 5 years, I'd like to expand to one more truck.
Okay.
Another full-size one like this. So I've got the 2 big ones. I'll probably, you know, go down and get rid of the backup spare one and use that one as the backup spare.
Sure.
As far as like installs and new construction, as long as people keep building houses, I got a shot at the contract on a drain field.
Sure.
I tell people, just give me a shot. Let me bid on it. I always tell people, you get a bid and it's cheaper than mine, you send it to me.
Yeah.
I'll match it, or I will beat it, as long
Yeah.
as it's apple to apple. You know what I'm saying? You want to get your own sand for the job. You want to provide the material for the job.
Yeah.
You just want to pay me to merely install it. No permit applying for, nothing. You got all that handled? I'm good. You want me to do everything from permitting, floor plans, all that bottom up? I got you. You want me to just install? I got you. You
Yeah.
know? You want me to sell you material? That's where I stop. I'm not going to buy material,
Sure.
go sell it to you, drop it off,
Yeah.
and not make a profit margin. Just go to the supply house and buy it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I get people try to, you know, home builder, you know,
Yeah.
And they just, all right, come on back, you know? I'll pay you. I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to change the dirt underneath a drain field to make sure the drain field works. So a lot of people come in there, rip it out, put a new one in, cover it up. 2 years later, it ain't working. Yeah, because you didn't change any of the sand. That's the problem. Them pipes and stuff, it's always going to drain. It's the sand below.
Interesting.
If the sand below isn't clean, almost like a beach sand, it's not going to work. I always tell people, you take a pile of mud and put it on a sidewalk, and another pile of beach sand, take a shot glass, water in each. Pour the shot glass on the mud, it's going to run all over the top, it's not going to go down. You pour it in the beach sand, sucks it up.
Yeah.
That's a drain field.
Interesting.
When you explain something that way to somebody and they get it, you're fine. A lot of people just physically don't understand it, because somebody replaces a drain field once every 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
The chances of everybody going through that in their life is not high.
Yeah.
And then you're talking 12 grand for a new one. You're like, what in the hell? It's not a roof.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even see it. But
Yeah.
you use it every day. That's the only thing, you know?
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like your business is really humming. Can you tell us about your side project that you just started working on with your podcast that you're doing?
Yeah, so little fun stuff, man. So we opened a podcast, me and my brother. It's called Jammin with Jeremy.
Okay.
You know, we do music reviews and, you know, talk about music, new releases. We go to shows. We just went to Billy Strings, so we were able to kind of cover that a little bit.
Cool.
We're like 15 episodes in, but it's just me and my little brother, who also works with me every day, also lives with me here at the house, you know, so I can't get rid of him. So I was like, might as well do a podcast. So we get in there, big old cooler of beer, sit down every Friday, 2 o'clock, and we just start, you know, mouthing off about, you know, Morgan Wallen or Luke Combs. I won't say if I like them or not, because I don't want people to act negatively on that. But, you know, yeah, that's what, you know, I do in my free time. You know, hang out with the wife and kids, and me and my brother do the podcast once a week, Fridays. I mean, we love it. It's just hanging out, talking about music. You know, to me, that's, you know, I love my family, you know, the business, the guys that got working for me, but I also like drinking beer. I also like listening to music and going to shows. You know, I'm not out here to work 100 hours a week and not enjoy myself.
Definitely.
You know, obviously coming up, working for your parents, they don't always pay you the same as they paid all the other guys, because you got it too good. So that's kind of, you know, I started with having nothing, had to work. I've been working every day since I was 16. You know, I didn't finish high school. I dropped out in 10th grade.
Sure.
So that was it for me. So I knew I was going to work. But from that moment on, I've always worked for a septic company. So since I was a sophomore in high school, I've been doing septic work, and, you know, I'm 37 now.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Tons
so
of
I've got
experience.
people like, hey, you're kind of young. I said, yeah, but I've been doing it since I was legit.
You
know,
started
so
young, right?
I started young. So thankfully, I've got almost 30 years experience, you know, wherever I've gone.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's the podcast, man. I love it. It's cool, man. It's especially if you've never done anything like that. You're nervous for the first time.
Yeah.
But then after that, once you kind of like get a rhythm, I was sitting there, I was just drinking the beer. I was like, man, it's like sitting on the porch, you know. So we'll pump your septic tank during the day, and hopefully you listen to us at night on the podcast.
That's exactly right. Right. We'll check out the podcast for sure.
Awesome, man.
Jeremy,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you for your time.
Yeah,
Really
thank
appreciate
you, man.
it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.